Today on Explore Tulsa, we've gone back in time already at least once, but now we remember 1978.
That was the year that our 39th president, Jimmy Carter, once again legalized home brewing.
And today, many people see home brewing as an art with all kinds of concoctions. I'm thinking something with a strong chocolate flavor.
Let us know how that works for you, but maybe we should check with the experts first at High Gravity.
It kind of started as a joke. We were in the IT world and we got outsourced to IBM, and it was, kind of like a bitter divorce. and we decided that, maybe we should do something for ourselves. And there wasn't a really good place to get homebrew supplies in Tulsa, so we just kind of started joking. Well, we should just open up our own homebrew store. We can bring our bird to work with us, and we'd be our own boss. And then, like 9 months later, we had a store. So. Well, I discovered beer several years ago, and so when I met my husband, I found out he was a home brewer, and I thought, oh, that's really cool, because I always wanted to learn how to brew beer, so I decided to marry him. We came up with the name High Gravity because it's a brewing term. Gravity refers to the amount of sugar that's in the liquid, which is your potential alcohol, and a high gravity is something with a lot of potential alcohol, and the store is full of potential alcohol, so we thought it was very clever. Homebrewers love brewing beer because it's like a craft. You get to share it with your friends, you get to play with recipes, and it's kind of dweeby geeky, there's a lot of science behind it, so it draws in a lot of people that are interested in that kind of stuff, and it's fun to make, it's fun to design the beer, and it's fun to share the beer. Yeah, so there are over 100 designated styles of beers that exist, like for competitions and things like that. And homebrewers can duplicate any of those. They can make any style of beer that's out there. Well, his name is Pippin, and he's just a member of the family. And when we worked in the IT world, he was home alone for several hours, and it really bothered us. And birds are very social creatures, so that was one of the criteria when we decided that we didn't want to be in the IT world anymore, that we'd have somewhere we could take our bird with us so that he wouldn't be so lonely. Now, if you're a first-time brewer, you don't need a lot to get started. The best thing to do is to get a starter equipment kit, and that's going to come with your basic equipment. It's going to have your fermenting bucket, it's going to have a bottling bucket, it's going to have a capper to cap the beer bottles, and sanitizer, and there's a little book on brewing beer that's in there. And then you would get a batch of beer, and I would recommend getting one that is in a kit form. We have several of those to choose from, so you just we find out what kind of beer you like to drink, and then we'll steer you towards that kit. And it's like following a recipe. If you can follow a recipe in a cookbook, you can brew beer. Now, when you're brewing a batch of beer, there's your initial cooking of the beer, and each recipe is slightly different. So you'll get grains that make that beer that flavor. You'll get hops that contribute to that kind of beer, and you'll cook it. And then once it goes into the fermenter, that's when you pitch your yeast, and it has to set for several days. Usually about 2 weeks is a good time frame to let your beer set and let it ferment. And while it's fermenting, it's converting all those sugars into alcohol. And then at that point, you actually have to add a controlled amount of sugar to the beer, and when you bottle it, so that it carbonates in the bottle. So it's natural carbonation. You're not using forced CO2 when you bottle your beer. And then it needs to sit in the bottle for a couple of weeks. We have over 200, and I think my last count was 220 different wine kits that we sell in the store, and they're varietal juices from around the world. They come in a condensed form, so it's easy for transport. They all make 6 gallons of wine, which is 30 bottles of wine, and they range from light-bodied to really full-bodied wines. We have wines that are ready to drink in a month or two, and then we have wines that age for 2 or 3 years and last up to 7 years. Oh gosh, yeah, being part of the brewing family and community in Tulsa is great. It's great being part of a group where you have something in common. we have some very dear friends now because of the store that we would have never met. We wouldn't know them if we hadn't opened our store. So I'm just a very happy person.